Classical movements create deep, meaningful sonic and cultural experiences. In fact, through orchestra productions adorned with local and international artists, this time round, Mzansi is in for a treat. So we are here at the Aula Auditorium at the University of Pretoria for a sneak little peek of what we can expect. For SABC News, I'm Liesl Wilson. Let's check it out.
Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure and an honor to be back home. You know, I have performed in all these spaces. I walk on, I sing, they applaud, it's nice. When I come home, I'm always excited because there'll be ululation, there'll be people cheering. I'm singing for my people, the community that supported me from the beginning. So I'm very excited about that. I'm looking forward to taking this concert across the country and just making beautiful music with my people. Some of the music that we're singing is like my own music, and it's always like that excitement of singing something that I know the audience might jump up and be with me. I don't think too much about it. Sometimes when I have some intense opera, yes, I have to go through my words, check my translations, check, what I'm talking about, what I'm singing about, so that the message can come through, because music, singing is about message, giving a message, telling somebody something.
Sometimes we haven't always gone through the experiences that's needed, but we have to embody, that emotion. Tell us a little bit more about that journey.
I am a very shy person, I would like to think, even though people don't believe me. So I started to sing because I could hide behind that. I enjoyed the acting aspect of opera specifically that I did, because I could step into a character and say, that's not me. Huitziman would not do that. And so every time I have to sing something, I always have to think about, what would this person that's not Huitziman do when the situation is like this? So for me, I have to learn and study the character and watch a lot of people and read a lot about the music, the director, the story, and everything, to be able to embody all these characters that I get to sing, so that I can evoke some emotions to my audience. I am a very shy person, I would like to think, even though people don't believe me. So I started to sing because I could hide behind that. I enjoyed the acting aspect of opera specifically that I did, because I could step into a character and say, that's not me. Huitziman would not do that. And so every time I have to sing something, I always have to think about, what would this person that's not Huitziman do when the situation is like this? So for me, I have to learn and study the character and watch a lot of people and read a lot about the music, the director, the story, and everything, to be able to embody all these characters that I get to sing, so that I can evoke some emotions to my audience.
And when we're looking at those stories that are told, tell us a little bit more about how Africa is featured in that.
There isn't a lot, but I'm hopeful that it will come, because people are starting to realize that, we have these wonderful stories, which I love so much, but it is also important to be able to tell our own stories, and it's coming slowly, and hopefully we'll get to a point where we'll be able to say, here's African opera, here's African music, because most of the time when I take this music to an American audience, they really appreciate it. They're like, what is this? We don't understand. Like I'd be singing some songs in Xhosa, in Zulu, they're like, oh my God, how do you do that? Teach us the clicks, So I think it's important for us to have that, our own stories, so that we can go tell it across the world. The world can know about us and know that we exist.
Well, next up, we're joined by Karen Slack, who is one of the USA's most celebrated sopranos and also an advocate for classical music diversity at large. Karen, thank you so much for making time to chat with us here on the SABC.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
You've managed to perform on so many stages all around the world. You found your voice, and that was something that you mentioned, so much so that the world celebrated you. You're a recipient of a Grammy.
Yes.
You obviously have also just had people give you so much positive feedback as well in relation to you healing them, pausing, slowing things down for them. Tell us more about that aspect of your work as well.
It's a huge accomplishment. Not very many people get to, do that, but also to do it singing the music of the Florence Price, the premier African-American female composers, and the Michelle Can and I being up there just with our Black Girl Magic, winning the Grammy is amazing. And I left home the day my Grammy arrived, so I haven't even unboxed it, I haven't touched it, I haven't done anything.
We had had a sneak peek of what we can expect, and it looks intense and riveting as well. But I wonder if you could tell us about what the South African audience has in store and how you've tailor-made it this time around.
This concert is built around the William Dawson Negro Folk Symphony, which I was told about 2 years ago had never been performed on the entire continent of Africa. So knowing that, I wanted to do that immediately. That was my first choice. And then it took a while to build a program around that. Since that time, I've heard there's been one performance. So this might be the second performance. However, so William Dawson tried to have a conversation with Dvorak's New World Symphony in a way. He didn't want it to be just sort of entertainment and quoting songs, African-American songs or African songs. He wanted to tell a story. He wanted to tell a story of people who were taken from their home and their communities and brought across an ocean and forced to do labor, and how they made the transformation. And so he tells that story using spirituals, using music that he gleaned from coming to Africa. So he wrote the piece, it was premiered in Philadelphia, it was taken to Carnegie Hall, and the piece was put aside, and no one performed it for a long, long time. Now it's being performed more and more, and we're contributing to that. In 1952, he came back to Africa, and he changed the piece, he added drums, he changed some rhythms. And by the way, he didn't want the name of the piece to be changed, because he didn't want it to become the American Symphony or the Afro-American. There were all kinds of suggestions. He wanted it to be the Negro Folk Symphony, for people to know up front that it's telling a story of a people. And even though he lived into the 1960s, through the 1960s, he insisted that it should never be changed.
I mean, for those who are not privy to the work that happens behind the scenes and sort of how you envision this and bring it to life, tell us about what goes into that creative process, particularly because of this intentional cultural exchange that's also happening.
Well, first of all, we want to play music that speaks to people, right? We want to communicate. So I make the choice. Are we going to have a violin soloist or a cellist or a saxophone player or what? And it's my responsibility. And I thought, we have to have singers, and we have to have words, and we have to tell a story, and we have to communicate with people. And so we're doing music from Porgy and Bess, 4 songs from there. We're doing some spirituals. We're doing some South African music, some of which is a surprise, and some of it is not. We're doing Bawo Tiko Somanja, for example, and Plea for Africa. And there's a thread. It's sort of, what did Bernstein do with the music he got from the people before? What did Gershwin do with it? What did Dawson do with it? They're all building on music that they inherited, or that they admired, or they loved, or they cherished.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I mean, you've had your own significant, memorable journey, and I wonder if there's a fun memory that stands out for you. Having traversed the world far and near, what stands out for you to date?
Well, you know, I have been just so many continents and so many countries, and maybe 120 or 130 orchestras over the years. So what would be the most fun for a classical music conductor? There are so many stories, but what could be more fun than going to the Grammys and being in the same room with Beyonce and Madonna? I mean, no classical musician ever expects to do that, or Jane Fonda or Paul McCartney. So I was starstruck, and that was pretty fun.
And I mean, because you got the recognition and you were amongst the greats, so you did get that acknowledgement, but it's also about giving back for you. And you're a teacher and you're a mentor as well. Now, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, this is a very difficult question. I teach conductors, and I've taught many over the years. Yeah. I said I would try it for 3 years, and now it's been over 30 years that I've been doing that. And fortunately, many of the conductors who are out and about and conducting all over the world are my students, and I still mentor many of them. Certainly not all, but a good number of them. And I wouldn't single out anyone for recognition at this moment, but it's such a joy to be able to see where they've gone and listen to the music they make and how they impact people. But it is, for me, it is all about changing the lives of the people who are listening. Now, we don't have full control over that, and we certainly can't change them forever, but if we can in a moment, bring joy to somebody, or enrichment or enlightenment, or even to get in touch with their own difficult emotions, if we can make that kind of contact and the concert can be meaningful, even for a moment, then I think that we've done what we're supposed to do.
And there you have it. Storytelling is set to come alive through this orchestra experience. And it's set to delight audiences in Pretoria, Johannesburg, as well as Cape Town. Mzansi is certainly in for a treat. For SABC News, I am Lisa Wilson.